right, welcome to Moms in Real Estate. I am Kristen, your host, and we are live for the first time in Gilbert, Arizona. And I'm here with my favorite co-host, Mindy Jones.
Hey, guys.
And we're interviewing the amazing Rosemary Lewis out of Texas.
Hey, everybody. So happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So Rosemary flew all the way out here from Texas, but you're not originally born and raised in Texas. So we're going to get a little background on our guest today. You guys are going to be so amazed to hear that not only has this woman done a ton of sales in real estate, but she has helped over 100 women build six-figure businesses, all while raising her own family, creating a community that is driven by faith and being authentic and showing up and taking risks, even when it feels super scary. And I can't wait not only for us to learn a little bit more about where that power and strength comes from, how you show up every day, and how you got that family of yours to fly out here with you. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, why don't you tell us, why did you even get into real estate? Take us back to the beginning.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So I met this boy when I was 15 years old. He ended up being my husband. But before he was my husband, he was a lot of things to me. So boyfriend, baby daddy, we didn't do everything the right way. And honestly, he was also like my Achilles heel. He was that thing that just kept nagging me to do things that I didn't want to do. My husband was always very entrepreneurial. He just knew he was going to be a millionaire. He didn't know if he was going to do beats. He didn't know, he was going to be the next Puffy. He just knew that he was not fit to work for somebody. So fast forward, he got into real estate when our older son, who's now almost 25, can y'all believe that? Almost 25. My son wasn't even born yet. My husband flipped it. Well, he was my boyfriend then. Flipped his first house. As time would go on, he wanted me to get my license so that I could list the houses because classic investor, he didn't want to pay commission. So,
he was going to pay somehow.
So I got my license and I was a school teacher at the time, but I did not like it. Because I wanted my summers, I wanted my weekends. I was working with him. My friends would call me. They want to buy a house. I was very annoyed to show them because that meant I would have to spend Saturday, map questing, trying to figure things out. This was the early 2000s. So the recession happened and we lost our butts, right? My husband needed to foreclose. We were married at this time, foreclosed 8 or 9 investment properties that were going at the time. We owed the IRS. I was like, this is the perfect time for me to bow out the business. Sir, you try entrepreneurship. It didn't work out. Let's go get some regular jobs with regular people and call it a day, right? But we ended up moving to Texas. And during this time, he went into a different entrepreneurial venture that afforded him the capital to get back into flipping. And as much as I wanted him not to do it, I saw this spark and this passion. He loves the art of the deal. When we get to Texas, he's trying to figure it out. We know all along the missing piece to his business is my skill set, right? We know that. But the thing is, I was the stable one, right? I was the one with the insurance. I was the one with the stable paycheck when things were up and down with his deals. We knew we could depend on me, and I just was not willing, even though I knew I had the skill set to do it. But this is why your words are powerful. When teaching, when things would get difficult, I would crack jokes to my teaching staff, my teaching partners. And I would say, when I quit this to be a realtor, did not intend on it. I also said when I quit to be a stripper, but luckily that didn't work. But I will always say, when I quit this to be a realtor, fast forward, I was literally sitting in church one Sunday, December 2016, balcony, top row of church. Our pastor was preaching about obedience. And he was telling the story of how Abraham was told to sacrifice Isaac. And, if you know the story, Abraham was looking for this promise to be fulfilled, finally had his son, and now God is saying, go ahead and sacrifice him. And my pastor just kept talking about immediate obedience. And in that moment, I heard the Holy Spirit say, go help. I cannot tell you how I knew, but I said, I need to go get my real estate license. On the way home from, because I'm thinking I need to go help my family, right? On the way home from church, I look at my husband and I was like, hey, I think I'm going to go get my real estate license, right? And he didn't say a thing to me, which made me mad. Because for years, you've been begging me, and pressuring me to think bigger and be an entrepreneur and make my own money and blah, 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 blah. And you didn't say anything. Well, we get home, I'm like slamming the kitchen counter, like making dinner all pissed off. And he brings the computer to me. He'd registered me for real estate class.
Oh, nice. So great.
And that's how I got in it. So that's the way it worked. And ironically, he and I worked together for about 2 days. I realized the investment side wasn't for me, but God was calling me to the marketplace on the more traditional residential side.
Yes. And to help like the women in real estate,
Yeah.
because you really show up for your women in real estate. So why don't you tell everybody about that?
Yeah. So that part I did not see coming. And for a long time, like I felt this tug of war with going into real estate and leaving teaching, because teaching is such a noble career, right? And I was afraid that people would think that I was sacrificing the gift of teaching and my impact in the classroom for money. And even deeper, Kristen, I shared this with you, my brother was murdered when I was 14 years old. Well, I was 13, he was 15. He was murdered by another 14-year-old. And, you want me to wait? Okay, that's okay, Fran. So when my brother was murdered, obviously just all the things. To this day, most painful event of my life. However, I remember thinking like this kid who took his life, I was like, he could not have had great teachers in his life, because the great teachers that I had loved me so well, there was no way I could hurt somebody else. So in my mind, the way that I honored my brother was becoming a teacher. So to leave teaching for a long time, I was like, what am I doing? Like, am I going against, but it just felt right. Even though I'm not a natural risk taker, I had to do it. So fast forward into getting into the business a couple years in, starting to get success, people would ask me what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, well, let me do a course, which turned into a community. And that was literally then I was like, oh my gosh, God will make room for your gifts where he calls you. So now I even hear Go Help differently from when I was on that balcony, because I thought it was about me helping my family, but it was like God was calling me to go help and be a light in the marketplace to help create other lights in the marketplace.
That's the thing about looking at messaging outside of you, is that it shows up differently depending on what you need in the moment, and may not be what you want to hear, and you may not understand where it's going to take you or call you to be led, but it will show up. And I think when you have experiences like that, it makes you more aware of how many messages there are, and that sometimes you're intended to help be the microphone around them.
Yep.
So as you've built this bigger business and shown up for other women in that way, and shown up for your family and honored your brother's legacy, how do you look at risk differently before? How do you look at what guides you differently than before?
So my motto is probably do it scared, but don't do it stupid. And everything that I have ever, most things were on the other side of fear. And I recently heard someone to say, don't be afraid of your fears. And now I look at risk, like as long as I'm in alignment with what God is calling me to do. And if most times the worst thing that can happen is where you already are, right? So like if I want to be on Kristen's podcast and I'm not on it today, if I never reach out, then I'm just not going to be on it.
Totally.
But if I reach out, you might say yes, or I'm just not going to be on it.
Yeah.
So that's the way that I look at a lot of things in life right now, is that if I don't try it, then okay, or if I do try it and it doesn't work out, the worst case scenario is the truth that I'm already living. So why not try it, right? The part that I think people get it twisted is that a lot of times we're out here taking risks that God's not calling us to take, right? So being very much in alignment with what are you called to do, because 9 times out of 10, the stuff I want to do, is not what he's calling me to. He's calling me to something that's going to stretch me. And when it's more about what he's telling me to do, and it's the worst case scenario, it's a no. And in every no, I've gotten lessons from him. It's refined my character. It may be, yeah, it was a no, I failed on my face, but in the middle of that, I met this lady and we were able to connect. Like, I just try to see him in it. And that gives me the courage to not trust me, to trust him, and then take the risk. And that's the message that I want to put out there to other women.
What if somebody listening is thinking, I don't know what I'm meant to do? Like, what would you tell them?
The more time you spend with your creator, you will have clarity on the creation. And that's probably one of the biggest gifts that real estate gave me, because in my teaching career, you know they want teachers to be there like 6:45. So in my mind, although I could have prioritized my time, like morning routine, what? Like, I'm just trying to get in the door without toothpaste on my shirt. So in my real estate career, because now time is my greatest currency and I get to set up this quiet time and that rhythm, that's the biggest gift. And now I have the time to spend 10, 20, 30 minutes a day in quiet time with God. And as I get to know him, I got to know me. And, I love our career, but it can be a very self-fulfilling prophecy. But I promise you, friends, you're going to come to the end of yourself. Life is going to happen, and it might be something tragic like a loss, or I know you went through a divorce. Like, there are going to be some things, but it might be success. Success might bring you to the end of yourself and you get the accolades, you sell the homes, you get the commission, and you feel empty. I almost think that's worse than failing. So when I have been to the points where I don't know, then it's like, okay, God, let me go into not myself, but go into you. But you got to be patient and wait for the answer. And also just take the next step. We are women. We want to know. I want all the check marks. I want to know what's going to happen next Tuesday in 2016 or 2026. I want to know everything before we make a step. But no, Lord, show me the next best step and that you have it figured out.
So as you've built this business now, it's been almost a decade, right?
Yeah.
So almost a decade in real estate, and you've built this community for women. What are the pillars of those businesses today? What are the things that you want the women in the room to remember about you and about your business?
Yeah, when I think about my real estate business, it's a 3-part framework, and this is what I teach the besties, because my girls are called the real estate besties. It's all about conversation. So first you have to have conversations, right? But then from conversation, conversion. How are you now converting these people? But obviously, like most times we think about converting them into a client. I want to convert it to a relationship. I want to convert you into a raving fan, right? Then from there, what is the client experience? And when I say client experience, it's twofold, because what is the client experience from obviously how I take care of you in the transaction, client events, interactions after that. But what is it like to experience me? And that is the part that I don't think that we take enough time to think about. From, I wear bright colors, bright pink, because it makes people happy. If you see me, I'm going to give you a hug. There are just going to be certain things, even the way you pick up your phone. I was talking to our coaching girls the other day. Like, how are you picking up your phone? Are you just saying hello? Or are you saying Rosemary? The way that the pace, your cadence, what is it like to be in your presence? And I'm not saying you have to show up differently, but you have to be aware of the energy you bring to any situation so that you are attracting the clients that you want to work with. And honestly, I do life with all my clients. So all of those things. So conversations, conversions, client experience. Then as it relates to the besties, this is literally the Lord planted this on me. I have 3 goals. Love God, love the besties, serve them well. So as long as I'm loving God, I'm loving his daughters that he has put in my path. And now how do I serve them well, right? And there are so many ways to do that. We serve them on our podcast. We serve them with our YouTube channel. We serve them with our live events. We serve them with our coaching, right? And I always say, wherever you can get in and plug in. And the heart of the whole community is, I know what it's like to be stuck. I know what it's like for the enemy to convince you that you just need to sit in the corner, be quiet, and be satisfied, right? And that's where a lot of women, we settle for little because we don't believe that we should be loud and live a big life. But living a big life doesn't mean being on platforms and stages, right? How am I discipling my kids? How am I caring for my friends? How am I caring for my I had a call with a client the other day, and I told her, I said, girl, I want to take this house off the market because we're going to pray about this, and I want you to hold it with an open hand. And if the Lord like calls it to be where it's going to sell and you move forward with this $1 million house, but if it's going to put you in financial ruin, you and me both, I could have pushed her, right? And she would have done what I told her to do because she trusts me. But it's more than about the transaction. And that is living a big life to say, okay, Lord, even if this $40,000 worth of commission is not available to my family, I'm going to trust that you have me planted here for a different reason. And guess what? The next day the house went under contract.
Of course it did.
Yeah. So it was about me, about me submitting to the Lord and him directing the path. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, that was very good. Okay, so let's go back to conversations. I always tell people you have got to figure out how you're meeting new people on a regular basis. So how are you doing that?
Opening my mouth. I talk to people everywhere I go. So, it's so simple that it seems hard. Literally, I'm in Arizona. I gave my Blink card to 3 people yesterday in the mall, just talking to them, hey, how you doing? I'm buying glasses. Literally, the lady texted me this morning, my son is really considering Dallas. Can we get on a call? We absolutely can't, right? But that's because I saw her. I had a conversation with her. I wasn't so busy in my bubble looking for the glasses that I wasn't available to just kind of converse with her. And in that conversation, she just asked me, do you like Dallas better than Arizona? I was like, well, I don't know Arizona, but I can tell you what I know about Dallas. So picking up the phone, sending text messages. When you walk past people, say hello. I work to compliment people every day because that brings the barrier down, right? When you're at your open houses, someone walks in, welcome to 123 Main Street. I'm like, girl, look at those shoes. Oh my gosh, now that barrier comes down. And they are a little bit more, open to conversating with me. So just start talking to people everywhere you go and start initiating conversations online. Yeah. So one thing that I teach in coaching very deeply is that, we have the same objections that we hear in our business, right? But the challenge is that a lot of times we're waiting for the person in our sphere, our potential client, we're waiting for a two-way conversation to have it. Put out content where you're talking about the elephant in the room, you are telling stories around it, and you're starting those conversations and then inviting, hey, hit me up in my DMs. Comment here. This is my phone number. You know where I am. Exactly. So starting conversations everywhere you go, whether it's the lady at Kroger, we have Kroger, I don't know if y'all have Kroger, but whether it's the lady at Kroger, whether it's the person at the counter, the mom that you're sitting next to at soccer or online, just initiating something where you are solving a problem and being resourceful and don't overthink it.
What I love about that is it doesn't matter where in the geography you are, you can implement this. And if you're in a new place and you're trying to start a business in a new geography or a new place, you can follow the same system of talking to the people that are around you. How have you chosen to embed yourself in your community? What are other things that you are doing so that people know who you are in your community?
So I'm busy with work. So I am very active in our church. I disciple ladies through the church. I'm always willing to serve at church. But honestly, my neighborhood. I am pretty active in my neighborhood Facebook group. Just pretty active in answering the needs for neighbors, creating like wine walks and things like that where we can connect. But I just put everything out there that I do. And then anyone that I meet, they end up getting my newsletter. I send a newsletter every single Friday. It's like how they used to teach you to do a letter of the heart, but I do a letter of the heart just for me every single week. So I invite people to do that. But that's probably it that I do in my local community. I just run my mouth everywhere I go. And that really, really works well for me.
And you're intentional about the places that you show up and how you show up. Like that idea of intentionality has come up multiple times already just in our conversation. You mentioned your kids, so you have boys in your life, right? At home, husband, kids. How do you have these kinds of conversations with them? How are they either involved in your business? How are you helping them be more intentional in life? What is that like mom business connection for you?
Yeah, modeling is everything. So I don't believe in balance because it is a myth and it will have you like pulling your hair out. I really work to live my life in rhythms. And time blocking helps with that to make sure that we have certain rhythms in our family. My older son, the 25-year-old, he is actually working on the investment side with his dad. So our businesses are pretty adjacent. So he and I have some very interesting, just interactions. But I have to be intentional with that too, because at the end of the year, I do this thing where I look and I say, okay, what am I proud of? What am I shoulda, coulda, wouldas? And what do I want to be proud of next year? One shoulda, coulda, woulda that I had at the end of last year was like, man, I really wish that I was more intentional about some conversations with my older son. Because have you ever become an adult and be like, nobody taught me that? Nobody.
All the time.
And as parents, we think that they're going to learn it through osmosis, right? Like our parents did. So literally on the calendar, every other Monday, my son and I, we have a 35-minute chat on the calendar, and it's called adulting. And he and I go for a walk, and we have a framework, the same framework I teach to my time blocking class, the 5 F's. We talk about, okay, where you're at with faith, where you're with family, finances, fitness, and fun. And that's a good way for me to check in with him, but also for us to now talk about it. And just in the few months that we've done it, it's now May, like he's made more money this year already than he made all of last year because we're setting some goals around his finances. He's preparing to propose. Within about a year. I hope you don't hear this. But
We're going to have to decline the release of this episode.
they're being intentional about the way, and I get to talk to him about things that I wish me and his dad would have done different, right?
Yeah.
His faith is like, that's the best thing, right? Is just seeing how he is developing his own relationship with the Lord. But I get to impart certain things into him, but it came with, I'm busy, but last year I would have said I was too busy, but this year it was just being intentional about those 30 minutes. And with my younger son, my 13-year-old, he is semi-involved with the business so we can get that tax write-off. But he is my sushi boy. So we do sushi dates like every other week, he and I. So those are just some of the things. And I do have them, and they're like right now he's here. He understands that we are here in Arizona because mommy gets to talk to other women in real estate. And so they get to be a part for all of it.
Do you do on your sushi dates the 5 F's?
In a certain way, not in the same way, but I ask some prompting questions that are around the 5 F's.
I love that.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm hearing so much of right now from moms in real estate is just like the burnout, and they're working so much and they don't know how to kind of avoid that. And I know you've been there, so I really want you to speak to that.
Oh, okay. So I might make you mad a little bit. So my coach asked me, I don't have a real estate coach. I have just a general business and visionary coach. And she asked me last year, like, okay, what is enough? And I kind of got mad at her. I was like, enough? You're not going to put a limit on me. But sometimes we hustle past the provision. You know what I mean? So first, know your numbers. Know what's enough, because what happens to a lot of us is the more we acquire in business, the higher our lifestyle gets, and we tend to hustle and sacrifice the things that we're hustling for. And this is one of my qualms or challenges within our industry, is because you will go to events, you have people that have, these mega businesses and mega stages, but this year the wedding ring is gone. This year, and not judging, because it's very easy to get caught up in the hype of it all. So I would just say, know when to say no, right? Know when, and I get it, but know what your numbers are, know what you need. But it's also, okay, this is where understanding and having faith in God, like I know he's going to provide, and I'm not giving you a pass not to do your activities and not to do the things, but I am not going to hustle past what's important, because at the end of the day, this time is all we have. Time with our families, time with our clients. So if you are feeling burnt out, you're not going to be at your best for anybody anyway. You're going to give raggedy service, right? It's going to be a raggedy experience, which is going to, speak to your referrals and everything like that. So just be clear. And it's okay to say no to some business. I just said no to business recently, right? Somebody was like, oh, referral company is going to pay me. I was like, girl, you should go with them. Because I don't have time to prove it to you, right? I'm in the business of attracting the right client to me who we're not going to have all of this back and forth. And it wasn't like a shady thing. And I told her, I was like, and you know what? She was a relocation person. I said, but keep my number. Whereas I can't talk to you about any real estate stuff, I'm happy to, still be a resource, share with you local things. You have an 8-year-old coming here, all these different things. Because here's what I know. In this season, I may not be the realtor for her, but guess what? Homegirl's going to come here and create her own sphere. And I want to still be able to tap into that. And I want her to see that even if we weren't a good fit right now, there are other opportunities for me to serve her or her friends later on. But I wasn't willing to sacrifice myself to get the business at that time.
Yeah. We have some really tactical people in our audience today because I have a list of tell me how you did this sort of questions. So I'm going to fire these at you.
Here we go.
But before I do that, when you talk about kind of being selective and who are the people that are right for you in your business, it's not only clients that we're having that conversation about, it's also peer relationships and partners and partnerships. And I think that in feminine leadership, it can get hard to balance being authentic with being strategic, being heart-filled with being strong and holding people accountable. What has your personal journey with that been? Because I think that that's kind of a hot topic right now. And part of this burnout conversation is how much women are giving to their business, to their partnerships, to their families, to their teams, to their coaching groups. How have you sort of dealt with the ups and downs of that?
So Mel Robbins, the look is like high ticket now, right? Let them. Is it let them? Let the theory. I'm going to add to that. Let them, let me, let God. Yeah. That's the way I look at it. Like I'm halfway through the book and I hear what she's saying, but it's like, but I'm going to let God. So, there are definitely tough conversations when you're not in alignment. And yet I hold it all with an open hand. Because when you're holding it clutch, like, oh, but I've been with this nutty for the 82 years, right? It's like, but you know what? And it's okay to have the honest conversation. And I think for a lot of my partnerships like that, they know that they are quote unquote competing for business, right? Like I'm going to put you out there, but it's not a give or take. And my type of clientele, I don't know about you all, but I serve a clientele that they're coming with their own people. This is their sixth house that they're on, right? So I get to have a lot of those initial conversations. But even I think even most recently, we're doing a transition in my coaching homework. And there are some girls that they get renewed. And I really want to hold on to them because we became a family. I mean, we are really real estate besties. But I was like, okay, I had to learn some lessons there. Like, first of all, I got to hold it with an open hand, right? If I'm not the best fit for them, it's okay. Or if they're not the best fit for what we offer, right? If they're looking for a way of doing business that's not in alignment, I can't hold on to them. And as a leader, what are the lessons that I learned moving forward? But I think that it's a continual evolution, and it goes back to that quiet time with Jesus.
Yeah. Which is one of the questions that we got, which is, what are some of the ways that you've been able to incorporate faith into your career?
Oh, girl. Okay. So actually right now, I just finished writing a devotional for women in real estate.
I love that.
The Real Estate Bestie devotional. It will be out midsummer. Be on the lookout. But for me, it was when I first got into the business, I was looking for a resource that would speak to where I was in my faith journey and incorporate my business life, because sometimes I feel like faith-based books or faith-based teaching make me feel like you shouldn't even want for abundance. If you want for it, something's wrong. And nothing that's wrong with wanting for abundance, right? As a matter of fact, God says he is abundant. He will exceed every expectation. The danger is when I want the stuff more than I want God. So that is my continual prayer. So just finding space every single day where I'm meeting with him, and it doesn't have to be, 87 minutes, doing him, build detergent bands, journal. This morning I was at the hotel and all I had was about 10 minutes before my Uber came. But y'all, God called me to kneel in the hotel and just to pray, break today. And I just did. So just we find space and time for everything, and just finding space and time for him. And devotionals, things like that helped me get into the rhythm of it. But the real secret sauce was when I just started opening up the word for myself.
So another rhythm question would be one that makes me cringe a little bit, but what's your morning routine? I'm just going to sort of expand that and say, what are some of the things that you pull into routine for you? Whether that is something that happens in the morning for you, a nighttime routine, or something that just each and every day, in addition to what you've already shared, has to show up for you.
Okay, this is a word when I'm happy you said nighttime routine, because what I figured out is that my nighttime routine is more important than my morning routine. So I work 3-1, 3 hours before bedtime, stop eating and drinking. And I don't drink alcohol anymore, but if I was, definitely stop drinking alcohol. 2 hours before bedtime, remove technology. Stop working. 1 hour before bedtime, remove technology, so that you can start to power down, right? We want to go so hard and not have any time for ourselves. Go work, scroll, do all the things to midnight, and then feel like a failure when you can't wake up at 5 a.m. when your alarm goes off. So that's what my nighttime routine is, just to give myself time to power down. And I normally fall asleep reading a book, not because I'm so deep, but because it actually puts me to sleep. So, and then in the morning, I give myself, you have to know yourself. So I like to be seated in my quiet time with the Lord at 6 a.m. But because of the way my mind is, I have to wake up about 15 minutes ahead of time, because I need time to brush my teeth, put on earrings, put on lip gloss, take the dogs out, put the book, clothes in the laundry, and now I can stand. And honestly, in the mornings, I give myself about an hour just to be, whether that's reading, journaling, things like that. Then I get my son off to school, and then I work out from home, because I am so forward facing all day, every day, that I just find it that I'm better to just start my day at home and not commute back and forth. But that's what my morning routine generally looks like. I really don't get into work until 9-ish, right? And one thing that I really do as well is technology. My phone is out of my hands for that first hour I'm up. So I even have a sand timer for when I am sitting down in my quiet time with the Lord. I do the sand timer. So it keeps me on track with time, but I'm not checking my phone, because, you'll check your phone for a Bible verse, and before I know it, I'm looking at Kayla's Instagram. So 3 hours I'm going by. So I check technology out of my head.
So we've got a mixture of gals in the audience today, some who have just started their real estate career, some who lead high dollar, high production teams. We've got some questions on both ends, kind of, if you could give advice to someone who's just starting, what would that look like? And then for women who've been in it for a long time, as you've developed your career over the past decade, what are some of those things that you see successful women doing that you try to do or help your besties do?
Yeah. So just starting, you're going to suck. It's okay. For real, women in real estate, most of us have come from another profession where we were super proficient. We know what we're doing. We could do it with our eyes closed. And starting over as a novice, just you don't even want to have the conversation unless you're going to be able to tell her all the market days, and everything that the lenders are doing. And it's no, it's going to suck. But here's a little news about sucking. You're going to get better, right? The more conversations you have, the more opportunities you have to get better. Continue to get in rooms like this, but don't get in rooms like this at the sacrifice of actually working. Because a lot of new agents do that too, right? They could go to every training, we'll sign for everything, but we won't actually do any of the stuff. So start having the conversations and just go. Open houses were my bread and butter. To this day, if my personal pipeline was dry, I have a team now. I will do an open house, because that's where I got to practice the conversation. It was just I got to practice conversations. Real people were less scary than people on the phone that I would try to cold call. I don't do that. And then it was social media cred, right? So showing up online at these open houses over and over, starting to train people on who I was now and what I'm doing. And then nobody came to the open house. Great. I got content and I time blocked. And I worked on my business instead of being in the weeds of the business all the time. So that was my thing. You're going to do some open houses and get on video. Date people on video, right? There are a lot of people, even in this room, that y'all, I'm on your face. Probably from video, right? So that's what I would say. On the flip side, for my high production girlies, build your business by design. If it's not what you want it to be, you can steer that ship at any time. And I will tell you that there was a point in like 2020, 2021, I was single agent doing upwards of 20 million over by myself, and production became my God. So just be very clear again on what you need and what the business is that you want. And now, don't be wrong, I like the money. I really like the money. The money is what I need. However, I get so much joy. I'm finding purpose now, right? And I thought I didn't find purpose when I was like, how value was my goal. But now, like, I love my team. Like, I love helping them unlock, and get to the next level. And, people who never dreamed that they could have 6-figure businesses and they're doing it on the team. I love, like, that drives me. So I know this sound so cheesy, but what is your why past the money? Mm-hmm. Because money will come and go. We can sell our feet and make money. No, so what is your why past the money? And and it's okay to pivot, because I really am also in a place right now where I'm being called out of production, because it's very clear to me that God is calling me to serve the marketplace in a different way through real estate bestie. But if I was holding on to production so hard, I wouldn't be able to do it. And what's crazy is, even since I've been here, I've signed like 3.5 in listing appointments or listings that I didn't even really go. It's like, when I do what he tells me to do, then he gives me the provision on the other end to supplement what I'm doing over here. So just listen to that knowing, get into your quiet time, really be honest with yourself about the business that you're building, and where you need to adjust, and have the freedom to do that.
I think so many women needed to hear that message right now. Mm-hmm. So I so appreciate that. And I'm dying to know this one question. If you were going to go in business with either an influencer or a celebrity right now, who would it be and why?
An influencer okay. I really like Amy Porterfield. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know who Amy Porterfield is. But she is a digital marketing goddess. Mm-hmm. And I was actually on Jenna Kudger's podcast.
You were?
I was. Interviewed me about Amy. So it would definitely be, I would say, like, the person that comes to mind, because I just love her marketing brain. And I love her story on being in the back of the room, listening to Tommy Robbins and all these guys, throw out these things. And she's like, I should be able to do something like that. And just what she has built and the heart behind it, and a lot, like, she was actually my first investment of self, where I spent money on her digital course, and buying her digital course opened up to what I get to do now. Like, it was the birth of Real Estate Bestie before it had a name. So Amy, if you're listening to this.
She is.
So why wouldn't she be? But that's who comes to mind for me, because what she has built through figuring it out, and the strategy, like, she comes with, I am not a high C on the disc. I'm not super analytical, and she is. So I really think that we could be right with you together.
Okay, I know that was supposed to be the last question, but now I need to know how you got on Jenna Kutcher's podcast.
Okay, you got it.
Did you ask her?
Yeah. So what happened was,
I need to do
that. You need to do that. Yeah. Jenna, girl, I have voice memos from Jenna.
Oh yeah.
But so Jenna Kutcher has a private Facebook group, and she does a lot of affiliate marketing, and she was doing affiliate marketing for Amy's digital course. And they asked, if you have gotten results, if you've done DCA, tell me about it. And I put in, I just commented my email address, like, hey, I love Amy, but I probably sounded a little gross opperish. I put in there, they called me, and I got to interview with Jenna. And then Jenna, like, after the interview, it was only like 15 minutes. She like stayed on and talked to me for like another 10 or 15 minutes. And then voice memo would be that night and was like, thank you so much. Like, so the experience of her was better than even the sign to her, because she voice memoed me back like, thank you so much. You were great. I just told Amy, you're somebody she needs to know. And then she screenshot me a message between her and Amy about me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I commented on the Facebook thing.
Yeah.
What a real life example of your client experience comment, though, and the power of that. Like, what a story that you can now share and say, if you don't realize how important the client experience is, here's this example. It was just a text message, just a screenshot, just whatever that maybe took her 1 second, but it was so intentional and it made such an impact on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And literally today I listened to a podcast when I was working out of Jenna and Amy just did a podcast together. I'm a fan for life because it's just the way that they made me go in the round.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.